All right, welcome back to another episode of Small Towns, Big People. Let me get this fixed here. Okay, there we go. We are excited to have our first interview. That's not us. So Nate here is going to talk to us about his business, his life, his stuff, and we're going to learn a whole bunch of cool stuff from him. What else am I supposed to say in the intro? Okay, there we go. Let's get started then. So Nate, you want to just give us a quick intro to you, who you are, what you do, what you got going on?
Well, yeah. My name's Nate Gamlin. I own Big Woods Realty in Crivitz, Wisconsin. Pretty much a full-time real estate broker, real estate investor, a little of this, a little of that. Been in the business for about 18 years. I have a real estate office also in Wasaki and Menominee, Michigan. Other than that, that's what I do.
Why'd you get into real estate?
Well, at the time, I was working at a factory, and I kind of worked my way up. I went to school to be a machinist, and worked my way up through the company I was at. Did some engineering, did some production supervision. Pretty much every job I had there I didn't like. I was there for 12 years, and about 10 years when I really started not liking it. And I thought, well, maybe real estate would be something I'd like. I'd never sold anything in my life, so I wasn't really sure about being a salesman. But I liked the idea of real estate. I was always interested in real estate. It always piqued my interest. If I seen a for sale sign pointing down a road, I'd drive down there and see what the heck it was pointing towards. And I thought that'd be a really cool thing to do, but I knew nothing else about it. So
it's funny. My wife and I, when we go on vacation, I always find all the things that are for sale, and that's like half of one day we'll go and we just drive around looking for places to buy. Yeah. And we don't want to buy them, but my kids hate it. They're, no, we want to go play on the beach. No, we're going to look at houses.
That's great. I do the same thing.
Yep. Pretty fun.
Did you invest prior to getting into sales, or was that all started at the same time?
I actually started investing first. I bought my first duplex in 2005. I kind of, the real estate investing part of it intrigued me before the real estate sales part of it. So I would say, I got my real estate license in 2007. So I was started investing 2 years before I started real estate sales. So I bought my first duplex in 2005. Was probably not the best investment, but hey, I owned a duplex. It was cash flowing a little bit, but not very much, and I thought it was great. But I was clueless. So then after doing that, and, some tenant issues and stuff, it was all right. And then I started thinking about the real estate sales part of it, along with buying more rental properties, which I bought my next one in 2007.
Well, that's awesome. And as far as the real estate sales stuff, what can you kind of tell us a little bit about the market up here and what that looks like from your perspective?
Well, current market or market then?
Current market, like what that's evolved to, and like what you're kind of dealing with as a business owner in the brokerage space.
Yeah, I think everybody wants to know what the current market is. Like, is it good? Is it going to be bad? Are we heading towards the opposite now? Is it?
If I only had a crystal ball to answer that question, I guess we're seeing a lot of different things. We're seeing certain aspects of the market where we don't have a lot of inventory. We're seeing some stuff. We're starting to see some price reductions. We're starting to see a little bit of inventory build up. Every time we see a price reduction on something, people generally think, oh boy, prices are coming down. They're getting excited. They're thinking the world's going to end. that's not what's happening. Usually it's, they inflated the price because the market was so good that they thought, oh, geez, I'm going to get $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 more than this property is worth. And they just couldn't do it. So they're dropping the price. But the prices overall, I think, countrywide, statewide, Privets wide are still going up a little bit. They've just stabilized. We still have plenty of buyers for most things, but it's getting more back to normal.
Yeah, that's generally how I felt. Because it seems like we're used to crazy, and now when we get back to normal, we're like, oh, it's so slow. Like, no, this is the way it's supposed to be. This is how life actually is.
Yeah.
It's Corona craze.
It's hard to adjust to because we have so many people, even sellers. Myself, I've invested in a couple things, and when the properties don't sell in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, everybody panics.
Mm-hmm.
I got sellers, with a $400,000 house that it's not getting a lot of activity. Well, generally we, in Marinette County, only a handful of those houses sell a year. We're not going to get a lot of activity. We just need one good buyer.
Yeah.
And when you don't sell a ton of those houses or a ton of those properties, you're not gonna sell fast. In general, things don't always sell in a week. It might be a month. It might be 2 months.
That's still pretty fast.
That's
Historically
still
average.
fast. That's still fast. Back in,
not expected though. So you're not getting any sellers like, yeah, I want to sell it in 6 months. Let's list it now and we'll wait. No, they're like, sell it now.
Yeah.
I want it gone. Why isn't it gone? It's been 2 days, man.
Even 5 years ago, we took a 6-month listing, anticipating it was going to take 6 months to sell it.
Yeah.
So for a while, we were taking year listings because the average days on market, it was sometime, probably between 6 months to a year. So that's how long we take the listing, and that's generally how long it took them to sell.
In 2021, I took a 21-day listing.
Yeah.
And I sold it before.
How long do you need the listing contract for? It doesn't matter. 2 days.
2 days. Okay, so explain a little more Kyle and Nate, you guys know each other. I don't know Nate at all, except now we've just finally met. So tell me about how do you guys know each other? How'd that all start? How do you guys get together and do stuff?
Well, I met Nate. He sold me a chunk of land with some issues with it.
Right away.
That were unknown to him, really. So he didn't do anything wrong, but he stood by, got us some help, pointed us in the right direction, at least even after the deal. Then we saw a Facebook ad saying, hey, agents wanted a Big Woods, so we called him. We ended up calling four other brokers. One other one called us back, wouldn't tell us anything unless we met him for lunch, which was kind of weird. And Nate was like, yeah, I told us everything on the phone. We came and met him and we went. So
that's interesting. I think it's funny how people try to hide information like, oh, well, we've got a trade secret. Nobody else quite does it as good. Everybody does it that way. Like, you don't have anything special. Just tell them how you do it.
Like, I'm going to have this secret trick I pull out at lunch that's going to make you come and sell real estate for me. You just give them the information, tell them what they need to know, and it works out or it doesn't work out. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Yeah, so I've been full-time since 2020 at Big Woods. And Krista quit her job a couple years ago, so we've been working in the office here for a little over 4 years full-time.
Time flies when you're having fun, eh?
Yeah, it's been fast.
Yeah, sure has.
So Big Woods Realty now you're in Michigan too.
Correct.
And why'd you make the jump to Michigan?
I guess we're on the border of Marinette County, Wisconsin, Menominee County, Michigan, so it was just kind of like the next step of things to do.
Is it a bigger area? Is it like strategically something or it's just?
Not really. Usually we just had a lot of overflow people that were looking maybe for some hunting land in the Marinette County area or anywhere up in the North Woods. So Michigan just kind of fit the bill for some of the people. And then we didn't have a license over there, for the first 10 years or 12 years, something like that. So we would refer to offices, you know, with your consultant or Menominee or whatnot. And then at some point, it's just the thought, we better get licensed over there just to be able to take care of these people. You know, if they're looking for 40 acres or a place on the river, a place on the lake, whatever it may be, we could help them in both states.
So you don't target big area like cities, large metropolitan areas where there's lots of houses to sell, high valued houses to sell. You're kind of you're targeting a different customer base.
Yeah, it's just pretty much recreational type properties, you know, hunting land, cabins in the woods, you know, place on the lake.
And what made you stick to that rather than, like, you're not that far from Green Bay? Instead of you moved over to Michigan where there's nobody, but instead of going to Green Bay where there's hundreds of thousands of people. So why?
I wanted to do, I mean, just primarily I wanted to do what I enjoyed. And I grew up hunting and fishing and using the, you know, public lands in Marinette County and Menominee County, just having fun and you know, doing that stuff. And that's what I wanted to sell. I didn't want to go to the city and sell, you know, homes in the city in these subdivisions or, you know, investment properties or whatever. I wanted to sell the cabins and the hunting land and the stuff that I was interested in. So it was always a, you know, a good fit. I wanted to see the properties as much as the buyers wanted to see the properties, you know, especially in the beginning. Like, it was exciting. You're going to, you know, traveling around the whole county where I was used to being stuck in a factory in an office or working on a machine. And now I get to go drive around and see all these properties around the, you know, the Northwoods. So that was the main driving factor on where I wanted to work.
Every once in a while you get paid now, so you're just driving your truck around after work.
Right. Yeah. And that's nice too.
So how many of these places are you like, hey, I'll sell it to you, and then you're like, yep, that's mine, I want it?
Oftentimes, you know, you find a lot of properties that, whether you know, that you fall in love with because they're nice. You know, there's, especially early on, again, it happens so often. You go to a place and you're like, oh my gosh, this would be great. Oh my gosh, this would be great. Usually you didn't, you know, sometimes you bought them too. You know, I got a couple of homes that I lived in that came along that way. And actually the site where I have my house right now, it just popped up one day and I went and looked at it and thought, you know, I got to have this. You know, and that's part of, you know, being a real estate agent, that every day, you know, you're looking at the new listings that come up and whatever it may be. And you're always thinking about that stuff. You know, when you're investing in a little real estate, that's what, you know, now you're kind of look at every property, analyze it. Okay, do I have any buyers? And generally that's been my number one thing. It's like, you know, if I work with a couple investors, they always come first. You know, if they might be interested in something, I get it their way, see what they think, whatever. There's plenty to go around. If the guy wants to do it, there's plenty to keep everybody busy.
So maybe this kind of leads into a different kind of more of the managing your money and how do you make sure you're hitting your targets and your budgets and stuff. Like, so if I was in car sales, right? If I was buying and selling cars, I would be buying more than I'd be selling. Okay, and then pretty soon I'd have no money because I've bought everything and now I don't. So like, just talk us through how do you manage that money? How do you make sure that you don't make stupid decisions? How do you go about deciding if a property is worth buying or not? You know, what is that whole landscape look like?
Well, it's, especially from the beginning, it was tough. I didn't have a lot of money to work with. I, you know, would scrounge up my 20% down, go to the bank, buy, you know, whatever it was. And back then there were, you know, we're starting to get into the foreclosure market and things like that. So I would, you know, get the down payments, you know, find a suitable property, you know, make a move, but you can only do so much at a time. And then, you know, of course, these things had the cash flow. So you're putting a little bit of money back in your pocket. I guess probably the biggest challenge for me was, you know, so you only had so much capital to work with, or so many funds from that, you know, the lender was willing to give you. So, and so much down payment. So what can I get, with the best return? And generally, so you're buying these single family homes, duplexes, whatever, at a good price, because you have to buy them right. So you get them at a good price. They're cash flowing. The properties don't need a whole bunch of foreseeable maintenance, and then make a move on them. But then, oftentimes, there were properties available that I wanted. You just couldn't buy them. There just wasn't. Plus, it was just me. There's only so many hours in the day to go look at them, to run the numbers, to do everything that needs to be done. So, other people would get them, and then you just keep going. You buy the next one when they come available, and you have the money.
So when you run the numbers, what do you look at? Let's say on a duplex, what do you look at as far as numbers go?
Well, I generally I always, and I haven't. My first 3 properties were duplexes, and I haven't bought a duplex since. So we're going back, 10, 12.
So you don't buy duplexes
years.
anymore. Why is that?
Well, it's not that I don't want any duplexes. I just like the single family homes because for me they're easier.
Yep.
I just get one tenant in a single family home.
You have a duplex that pops up and it's going to give you $10,000 a year, and you have a single family that pops up and you're going to get $5,000 a year. You're going to go for the single family rather than the duplex?
Well, I wasn't really investing in that. I guess I was in a lot of the stuff that I've had for a while, where I wanted to buy them right. So I was buying and making, in the next few years, I was hoping I would double, triple my money on the purchase of the property. Not necessarily, I was going to hold for long-term gain.
Okay.
So now when the market's very good, prices have went up. Now I'm thinking, yeah, let's sell a few. And we've sold a few over the years, just for whatever reason. But generally, I wanted to buy something that, I was getting a really good deal on, and I was going to cash flow, $300-400 a month. When I first started, that was the idea. Like these duplexes, yeah, they're going to cash flow $400 or $500 a month. Great. I'm fine with that. Let's just, keep rolling that in, build up the savings account, get a down payment, buy another, buy something else. But then the deals ended up, where the purchase price was desirable were on the single family homes. And you weren't seeing, for duplexes, you just didn't see a lot on the market for a long time.
And that's, I think, the key there, right, is your numbers tell the story. It's not emotional. It's not, I've got, you know what, I need that 42 unit building to beat my chest and say, yeah, look what I got, right? It's it's about making money.
Yeah.
And if the property's not going to make money, then it's not a good buy.
Absolutely. And I think, we do see a lot of that in the market. Like people just want to have.
Yeah.
I want to buy, whether it's fourplexes, duplexes, apartment complexes, which we don't see a lot of up here.
There's some crazy numbers people are putting down on these huge multifamilies that I don't know. Unless, I guess maybe they have so much money that they can just take 4% return on investment and be happy with it. But
you need that in the CD.
I know you can get more than that in a basic checking or savings account.
Your high volume savings account right now, you can make more profit than they're making on these buildings that require maintenance.
But then they think, but what they're thinking is they buy it for $5 million, they rent it for a year, and they'll sell it for $7 million.
Right. The bottom's going to fall out of that market.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Or rents are going to go up 10% year over year for the next 3 years. Good luck.
My goodness. Yep.
Yeah, and that's where it just, we didn't have the duplexes, we didn't have the fourplexes, we just didn't have a whole bunch of it, but we had tons of foreclosures back, years ago. That were you're buying them at a good price, and you could, without a whole bunch of work, you could get somebody in. We fix them up and make them nice. You feel good about yourself when you're renting a nice house, that at a reasonable price. You want to keep your rents up, but you don't want to gouge the people. You got a good property at a good price, and the people are happy to live there.
Yeah.
And it works out for everybody.
So now switching gears over back to the brokerage side, I know we're going to keep flipping you back and forth a little bit.
That hurts my brain, Kyle.
What do you do for attracting and retaining agents to stay within your brokerage with so much competition and so little barrier? Like I can leave tomorrow, right? Like there's nothing keeping somebody around.
Well, how many agents do you have right now to start with?
Oh, that's a good question. What do we have? 13? There's 14.
I think 13.
We just added 2 new ones. But I mean, really just try to be a good place to work. You try to, you give them a fair compensation. I guess what I've really tried to do is I try to give them leads. Like some brokerages are saying, oh, we'll give you 90% of your, 90% of your commission split or whatever. I mean, we run on more of an older model where it's, based off a 50-50 split or a 60-40 split. But we get tons of leads. And I mean, I'm trying to, Kyle would be better to answer this question than me. I mean, I'm trying to get the leads out, all spread around, and, hopefully good ones where they're making some money. It doesn't matter if you're getting 90% of your commission when you're only selling one property a year.
90% of zero is still zero.
It's zero. You're poor.
Mhm.
So that's, so I try to get them in, try to get them making a little money, hold their hand through a couple transactions, but let them go out there, make some mistakes too. I mean, there's, it's not rocket science. You gotta make phone calls. You gotta call people back. You gotta do what you say you're going to do. And then I'm just here to guide, keep those leads flowing, keep the lights on in a couple of offices, answer questions, and overall in general, I think be a decent person where you're nice to people. You're not a jerk. You can call me whenever.
Yeah, I know talking to agents, a lot of agents, there's a misconception out there that your brokerage has to do all this stuff for you or has to be there, or your employer. It really doesn't. They just have to be honest. They have to help you when you need it. They have to pay you fairly. Like, what more do you need? Give people the opportunity, like you said, to succeed. I know for me, like I'm not going to make it at Coldwell Banker because I'm not wearing a blue polo every day. Right? Like that's just not my thing.
Sometimes it's just simple things.
So that freedom is very important to me.
My team has to wear Crocs every day. All of them.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
even my roofing teams.
Right. Even if it's just to the job site, but
No,
put your
I've
Crocs
tried
on.
to. I even found steel-toed Crocs, but nobody will wear them.
Oh, that's a bummer.
It's so sad. Crocs are the superior shoe, though. So, and I'm not endorsed by Crocs yet. Yeah, but we will take that endorsement if that comes.
I can't believe you don't have Croc accessories like those.
No, those are stupid.
No,
Those are
that's-
little girls.
That's where the line is drawn.
Yeah, that's
Gotcha.
where the line's drawn. Yeah, I'll wear girl shoes, but if you put little danglies on them, I'm not interested.
So how, like, from the business side of having the two different things, because you do the rentals, you do some flips, you do some subdividing, that side of your business is pretty complicated from the outside looking in. And then real estate, you have separate finances in the brokerage. So how do you go about managing to keep those two things separate yet organized?
Yeah, I guess basically it's two completely separate businesses. You run them completely separate. The real estate investment side has its accounts, its whole management, everything, and the real estate offices have their own side of things, and you just keep them completely separate.
Do you have separate people managing those things or doing the accounting or?
Yeah, well, me and my wife do it all. So
You
it's basically, I mean, it's pretty much, my wife with QuickBooks and whatever,
Oh,
managing
QuickBooks.
the whole thing.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my
I did.
goodness! It's time to
I-
modernize, man.
Yeah.
Get out of QuickBooks. Let
Yeah,
them die.
Yeah. She just got, I don't know.
No,
I used
that's
to
so
be a
sad.
spreadsheet guy.
Yeah,
I
spreadsheets
was-
are better than
yeah.
QuickBooks.
Yeah, that was how I did everything. She brought in the whole QuickBooks part of it. And
Oh, man.
I don't know. I know nothing about it.
If
I
you
don't
did,
want
if
to.
you knew
I don't want
anything,
to.
you would run away. Okay,
Yeah.
so QuickBooks, and you guys do that. Where what software do you run your real estate stuff on?
Oh, and so we use, just a couple of real estate standard zip forms, like a paid, which is a free service for like file retention and electronic signatures and all that kind of stuff. But we have a paid version, so every agents have their accounts and they do all their stuff in there. We can go in, we can review all their things, whatnot. So that's
And then you
pretty much our
switch this year for your CRM and stuff.
Oh yeah. So we used to have our like websites, like local web builders built a website for us. It's some pretty decent websites over the years, but we went now with more of a national website provider that has a big CRM built in with lead generation tools and contact management type stuff, where you can really keep a better eye on everybody. I think the biggest thing in the real estate sales world is forgetting to call people back, not following up, stuff like that. So we have some automatic follow-ups built in, and sometimes, some people might find them annoying, but they can shut them off, so we don't want to badger people with a bunch of stuff they don't want, but we don't want them to feel like they're not being followed up with. So that's been one of our biggest things recently that we've done is modernizing with the new CRM and website built in.
Yeah, it's always a struggle to choose to do that because you lose some level of control too, though, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we used to be able to go in and, change stuff. Like our whole website runs off of the MLS now, which, we can only put certain fields in, and then we can only get certain fields onto the website. And, sometimes people want different things that aren't on there, but you can't, we try to make it as good as we can for most properties, but not all properties are the same. So you're missing stuff and people are like, well, why isn't this listed? Well, they do have to ask questions sometimes because it's not all there. Where before some of these sites you could put in whatever you wanted because it was all manual entry. But
so the efficiencies that you got from this new software are better than the drawbacks that now the things you can't do.
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
I've had that problem with our software. Like I would create my own stuff and it's exactly what I want. It does everything. But then to scale it and to manage it, if you're just going to do it yourself, like there's so much work in keeping that up that you buy the national or the generic or the standard that's out there, and it saves you a lot of time.
Yeah, absolutely. We hated it because we had, our previous two sites were local web builders that built them, and we love to keep that, local. But it unfortunately the real estate industry kind of drove this. Like the local web builder just couldn't keep up. I mean, that's just what it boiled down to. I think they're definitely the way to go if you were an electrician or a plumber or somebody looking for a website. But for what we were doing, we needed all these tools and integrations and stuff. And when you're not techie, like I'm not techie. My wife's fairly techie.
She uses QuickBooks. You can't do that.
Yeah, right. But we don't have the time. Yeah. She's just far techier than me, which isn't saying much. So yeah, they got to use some of these tools to keep up with the Joneses, I guess, because they're, you got big companies out there trying to eat up the little guy, and we're just the little guy.
So what's your competition?
Oh, I would say, there's a handful of us, like say in the Cribbets area here, Marinette County in general. There's a few little people left, small hometown brokerages that, do good. But, we have the bigger brands coming out of Green Bay and Appleton and stuff, your Coldwell Bankers, your Berkshire Hathaways, Keller Williams, that type of thing. And I think that's where we lose a lot of market share. Our buyers and sellers are coming from Green Bay, Appleton, so they meet that real estate agent down there. Maybe they know them from the gym, or they know them from, the wife is a teacher, the husband's a teacher. Somebody knows somebody. Whatever they do, they know a real estate agent down that way, and they use them to do their transactions up in the Northwoods. I guess the worst part of that is those agents have no idea what's going on up here. They don't know where to go for a burger. They don't know where to go swimming at the nearest lake. They don't know where the ATV trails are. They don't know where the county land is. They don't know any of that stuff. But yeah, unfortunately, that's our biggest competition is just that onesie, twosie agent coming out of the city.
And now they all get to say, yeah, Google has an office up there. And it's not lying. It's not disingenuous.
Yeah, we get a lot of that. Oh, we got an office up in.
Yeah, they have an office everywhere.
They have an office in every town. We can't go 20 miles without running into a football bank or. Yeah.
And I'm going to toot on the Big Woods horn here a little bit that Big Woods is the largest independent home brokerage in Marinette County now, or I think even O'Connell County. There's nobody who has more agents or anything other than some of the big franchises.
Yeah, I think you're correct.
So,
in both.
When we wrote this or decided on this podcast, like the idea was talking to guys that are successful at things locally around here doing really good. So like other people can take the things that you've been successful with and apply them to whatever they're doing and hopefully be successful, right? So if you could like narrow it down to 1, 2, 3, 5 things, what are those things that took you from working in the factory, hating your life, to being able to go out on the boat whenever you want to?
I think the number one is probably just good old fashioned hard work. Like people say, oh, I want to be a business owner. It's going to be great. I can do whatever I want, whenever I want. Well, I spent the first 7 to 10 years working 70 hours a week. I would schedule Tuesdays to go fishing. Tuesday at 4 o'clock, I'm done because I'm going fishing. I did that for summers for probably 5 years. I switched Tuesdays for a while, Thursdays for a while. There's slower real estate days. Every other day I work, and then I get home from fishing and I grab my computer and I catch up on my stuff and whatever, and that computer sits on my lap until while I watch TV for an hour or two. I still do that, and I don't have to, but I do. It's just nobody's forcing me to do it. Yeah. I just do
but
it.
It's a hat. You almost feel like you have to because you enjoy it, or you feel like you have to because things won't keep going, or you feel like you just that's who I am now.
I think it's a little bit of that's who I am now, and I enjoy it. Like I like to stay on top of the market. I want to check the hot sheet after supper because I want to see what was listed at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. I check it first thing in the morning because I want to know what if I missed anything or whatever. Refresh my memory from what happened yesterday by looking at the stuff that came up. But yeah, it's just that, no matter what you're doing, if you're not going to put the effort into it, you're not going to reap the rewards. A lot of people, I'm telling you, it can be done. I did it. I went from the, factory job, whatever, struggling through everything, living paycheck to paycheck to doing okay. Like, yeah, I always do better. You always have more goals, better, whatever it is. But the good old fashioned American dream is alive, and anybody can do it. But it all starts with hard work. You're not going to do it by screwing around, going fishing or golfing nonstop every day. Unfortunately,
I wish.
Yeah, if it was only that easy.
So we talked about this a little bit, and you kind of alluded to it, but didn't really get into much detail. How does your budget work? How do you? Does your wife do your budget?
We both do.
Okay.
Yep.
And how do you like? You take your budget, and how do you just kind of? Can you talk through the process how you and your wife go through and get it set so that you're happy with each other and not mad at who's spending and you're buying a new boat and she's going get her nails done, those kind of things?
Well, I mean, that's kind of the tough part, especially so we got real estate investing, we got a real estate sales business, and then you have like what you get paid and what you have to live on. So, I mean, we just pay ourselves a modest wage. I mean, nothing extravagant. And then you have the two companies that do their own thing. Well, of course, so we budget for, some nice vacations, and, certain things that we want. but just like anybody else, we just set your budget, like our personal budget, just like anybody would, based off of what we get paid.
Well,
Of course,
you say this, you said that a couple times now, just like anybody would. I find that almost nobody does a budget.
true.
Okay.
True.
So if you do a budget, yes, then it's like, oh yeah, well that's how people do a budget. But like doing a budget, okay. So I used to work at Liberty Mutual and I made 6 figures. And I would go to McDonald's drive-through the second week before I got paid, and I couldn't buy a $2 McChicken because my card would bounce and I had no money in my account.
Sure.
It has nothing to do with how much money you're making.
Right.
Budget has to do with how you're managing the money that you have, right?
Yeah, and you're 100% right, Joe. I used to do the same thing. It would be, especially early on in the real estate business, because you're and it was very difficult because in summer months you're making money like crazy, and then in the winter you're not selling anything. So you're like, oh man, I'm scraping by. And then like a lot of your real estate expenses will come up in February also. So you're in a time when you're not selling a lot of stuff, you have your expenses come up. So your renewals for insurances and all that kind of stuff. So the key is setting the budget in the first place, because it was a number of years ago where we started, like, we have a business budget for both businesses and a personal budget. And then, that's what you spend. At the end, like quarterly, if we have like, okay, yeah, well, we're doing the investment part of it. Usually that's all investment. Like we don't take anything out of there. It's just that's the investment part of it. But like anybody with any business, if the business is doing really well, well then you can take a draw. Take an owner draw, and what do you do? Well, that's it goes to your personal budget, and maybe it's used for investment or whatever. But yeah, you have to keep them separate. I think that's where so many people do. It's just like, it's all piling in this account, and you're looking at your account balance, and you're saying, oh, I got 20 grand. Let's go buy a boat. And oh crap, next week you're like, I didn't sell anything, or next month I didn't sell anything this month. Now what? Right. So yeah, that gets tough.
Do you and your wife
make more money?
Do you and your wife sit down and do it together, or does she do some, or you do some, and then you're like, hey, how does this look?
Actually, most of the budgeting I do, and then I just discuss it with her.
Yeah.
So I kind of put the numbers together, say this is where we're at, and I discuss it with her.
Yeah, he got to do that question. I don't do a budget.
Yeah. A lot of people don't.
Very few people do. Like the budget is really important. And I actually didn't get past my McDonald's $2 McChicken problem until I got the budget, and I did the Dave Ramsey, how to tell your dollar where it goes, otherwise the dollar goes away, right?
Yep.
Oh my goodness. And I hate that he's right, but he is.
I did the same thing, and I do listen to Dave Ramsey.
Yeah. Right. And it's crazy how true that is. It doesn't seem like it should be that way, but it totally is. You just get the budget, manage it, get it under control. It's just like your time. You don't manage your time, it's going to be all gone too.
Yeah, something Dave says all the time is lifestyle creep. Like your lifestyle, and not just the other, money type shows or whatever. You'll get that lifestyle creep, and it's real. Mm-hmm. Like you will, no matter how much you make, you can always spend it.
You can always spend it. They make $1 million yachts. They make $10 million yachts. They make $1 billion yachts.
Absolutely, yeah. And the price of trucks these days, like, okay, do you want the $50,000 version or the $100,000 version? Well, everybody wants the $100,000 version.
$50,000. Where is that? Well, that hasn't been a thing for 3 years.
Crank windows.
No, there is no such thing anymore.
It's 3 years old.
There you go. There you go. That's the yep. No, the new one's 80 to 120. No, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Awesome.
So, I mean, we've hit on this a little bit for residual income. What do you do within the businesses to try to create a residual income system? So when you're off fishing in Florida for your 60s, you don't have to worry about it. The money keeps coming for you.
Yeah, good question. I think that's, the rental properties is a pretty good source of that. Especially if you were, I don't use a property management company now. Down the road, I probably would.
I know,
so I would. I hear that. Because literally you can just have somebody do this, and there's enough there's enough, enough money coming in. I mean, you're not getting rich on one property or whatever, but there's enough to pay for that service and still make a little money where you don't have to worry about the water heater going out or whatever it may be. But right now I just do it myself. It's not, I have a lot of interaction with my tenants and whatever. It's just what I do on my day-to-day basis.
And you've got to be good with that. It's not a true residual. Like everybody thinks real estate, buy a rental property. It's residual. No, it's passive.
Yeah.
But not fully.
Yeah, but how passive is it, right?
Correct. Yeah. It's only passive in the sense that they pay you monthly. You still got to maintain it. You still got to talk to them. And if that tenant doesn't like you or you don't like them, that's horrible.
Yeah. We have a tenant right now. I mean, he's been with us for 15 years, and he has diabetes, and he had to get part of his toe cut off after being off of work for probably 3 months, and he's 3 months behind on his rent. And I'm not kicking him out, but my wife did sit down with him yesterday and fill out all the paperwork to get his rent paid for, and we'll probably keep him until, like, he's almost part of the family. Like, there's nothing passive about that. No, like, she was literally over there talking with him and his brother, sitting down filling out the paperwork for the housing assistance, and we're probably going to wait until he gets it. And it could be, I don't know how long, or he gets back to work. But that's stuff that you run into, and maybe some people throw them out on the street, but I can't do it. But yeah, definitely not passive.
So you also run a business in a passive way, or at least I hear that you may from Kyle's talkings. But 13 agents is the income from real estate sales. You're not selling a ton of houses. All your agents are selling them, right?
Ideally, yeah. I mean, I tried. I just took a listing a couple days ago that, like, the people called and they said, we need to talk to Nate because we know him. And I take that stuff. And it's not that I don't want to work with anybody. It's just there's only so many hours in the day. So I try to channel everybody through one of the agents. Like, I'm like, okay, you got to call Kyle. And there might be, different ways that I channel them to the different agents. But you can only do so much. So, and I'm out doing other things. Like, we've been working on this house that we're remodeling right now, and I've been enjoying working on it. There were times where I didn't pick up a hammer for a few years, probably, other than maybe tinkering around in my shop at home. But now I've kind of been into, I want to tinker with this and I want to tinker with that. So, I'm doing because the real estate business, you have files to review and all this stuff. I do it at home, but I'm not sitting in the office every day all summer because I'm doing other stuff. So, but you got to keep a happy mix too, because as any business, this one's no different. Like, people want to see you. They want to chat with you at the office a while. So I try to get in at least, maybe talk to everybody once a week or, whatever. We're in the winter, like when I'm not working on this project, I'm probably in every day. If I don't have anything going on, I'm just coming to the office in the morning. It's just what I do.
Until October.
Yeah, and then, I'm going to get my deer stand time in. I'm not going to suffer on that. There were years where I didn't get out a whole lot, and I'm making up for it now.
So that was another thing I thought. You're interested in hunting land, hunting cabins, all that. So what kind of stuff you hunt?
I'm primarily a deer hunter.
Primarily deer.
Yeah.
No duck. You're not a duck hunter. Duck hunters like to tell you they're duck hunters.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I'll tell you, I'm not a duck hunter. I don't even want to go. Our kids love duck hunting and goose hunting, and they want me to go all the time. I'm like, yeah, I'd love to hang out with you guys, but I'm going deer hunting. Like, I'm gonna go sit in my stand and enjoy myself. And but they're duck and goose fanatics, and I just rather sit here.
Yeah. So just local, just on your land, that's all you hunt, or do you do trips? Do you go elk or moose or?
I've went on some. I'm actually, like, right now I got a thing where I'm going to Iowa every other year because that's, you get a point. You got to get a point. So every other year you can go. Other than that, I just like
just deer hunting.
Like, I have my, I have a little bit of land, and I just like to deer hunt on my land. I don't get, like, our kids are always like, well, they'll get permission from this farmer or that farmer. Well, you can go over here. No, I'll just sit at home. Yeah. I don't care if there's a bigger buck over there. I just want to sit at home.
He might walk over here.
He might. You never know. You guys go. You do your thing. Whatever. I'll stay here, and that keeps them out of my stands too. So that's kind of nice.
I've noticed personally, my hunting is more like I just want to get into a stand away from people. I think my social battery runs out at the end of the week, and I just want to be, dealing with so many people. And I enjoy that part of the job, but there's at some point I just I want to recharge my social battery and get out of there.
Oh yeah,
I think that's where hunting
you
comes
hit the
in.
nail 100% on the head. Like my gun season every year. I don't even care if I shoot a deer. I'm gonna go to my deer stand. I'm gonna sit there all week, and I might take I'll do a couple text messages, whatever. But I'm gonna reset.
Nope, I can't do that. So if I go deer hunting, I either will drive around in my truck until I see a deer and then jump out and shoot it, or which only very rarely happens, or I will walk for 10 minutes and then I'll get in my truck and go back home.
Sure.
If I have to sit in the deer stand, I'll bring my computer and I will work on my computer. And I hate the deer stand. I've always hated deer stand. I don't know what it is. And I've never shot a deer out of a deer stand.
Because you're probably looking at your computer.
Well, no, even when I was a kid, even when the computers didn't even exist, right?
Sure.
I hated it. I would sleep on the floor while Steve would be sitting in the deer stand when I was a kid. And then when I got bigger, I was like, you know what? I'd wake up at like 10 o'clock in the morning. I'd walk out with my gun. If I saw one, I'd shoot it. And I did that several times.
Yeah.
And if I didn't, I'd go back in and go back to sleep.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get the whole that's just it.
I think you have to be built for it.
You have to. Yeah, it has to be a different kind of person. Yeah. But I like hunting. I like hunting all those things, but as long as I don't have to sit there and wait for something.
Sure.
If I can actively go find it. Yeah. So wild boar hunting from a helicopter with an automatic machine gun. Yes, that sounds excellent. I'll sit in that for 2 hours and unload 1,000 rounds.
Go hike the mountains chasing elk or goats or something.
Sure. So, yeah, it's something that's active. Yeah, you got to go chase them. That would be my thing. Huh. Interesting. I don't think that had to do with anything.
Yeah, I don't know what the question was.
No.
That's what hunting does to a guy.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
So what, in your estimation, Dave, does your businesses have to do better in the future?
Oh, the lists are endless. I mean, it's that one thing we're always trying to do better. On so many things. Just trying to think of what would be maybe one of the more important ones. And probably just drawing a blank here.
It's hard to beat perfection.
Yeah.
It's hard to improve.
Well said, Joe.
Yeah.
When you're doing everything right.
When you're doing everything right.
No, I think it's the opposite of that. We're
Sometimes it's
better. One of the biggest things I've been working on probably, this last year especially, is like how, and this goes into one of the questions from before, like the passive part of it. How to do more where I don't have to be around and things can run more smoothly when me or my wife Kelly aren't around. And not that it doesn't necessarily run smooth, but we feel like if I'm not sitting in the office every day at 8 o'clock, I'm like I'm not doing my job. And how do I get out of that? But yet, make sure, delegation, make sure like Kyle's taking on some new responsibilities that I've never delegated before because I thought Kyle was, a good candidate. And he's a great candidate, but it's hard for me because I want to do everything. And, and I have a hard time saying no to the person that says, Nate, I need you to do this for me. So just doing that, but yet making sure all the agents and everybody knows, hey, we're here for you if you need our help and all that kind of stuff. But yet making sure that they're also doing that because, we'll forward on leads. This is like my biggest worry. Like, I don't want any lead calling our office and not getting a phone call back. And it drives me crazy at night sometimes. Like, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and be like, oh no, did we get back to this lead? And I'm like, whatever, following up. But I feel like that's, even though I kind of obsess on it, that's just a huge thing. Like, I never want to happen. I don't want that person to be sitting there going, oh, that Big Woods Realty didn't get back to me. but yet in a lot of cases I have no control because the leads are coming in, they're going to the different agents in the office. And like, of course, when it's Kyle, I know they're getting followed up with 10 times, but you don't know with everybody.
It's hilarious you say that because you do a pretty good job of getting that point across. Because the other day, Krista looked at me and she goes, "I hate you." And I said, "What's going on? Like, what did I do?" And she's like, "I had a dream the other night, and I woke up in a sheer panic that I did not follow up with a buyer." And I was like, "All right, we're cooking now."
And the worst thing is, like, so with technology these days, in spam folders and whatever, it's like, oh, I sent you an email yesterday, I never got back to you. Oh, I know where that sucker is. It's in my spam folder. And I check my spam folder twice a day, and then the one day I forget there's an important message in there, and then now I feel like I didn't follow up. So, it's follow up and follow up and follow up. And that's probably the biggest thing is, follow up and follow up some more. And the agents get sick of me saying, make sure you follow up, call, text, email,
Call, text, email. Oh my goodness. I hope my team watches this because I tell them that all the time. I was telling my mom that. She used to work for me for a while, and she's like, "Oh, they didn't get back to me." Well, did you call? Did you text them? Did you email? Oh, no. I just, we'll call them right now. And then you know what happened when she called them? They answered.
See this thing?
Yep, there it is.
Like, come on now.
There it is. That's really funny.
It.
That is great. So that was going to be, so we like to do, have a little bit of a challenge, right? To each person that comes in, say, hey, and my challenge to you is this idea called the 5-hour work week. Okay. So as a business owner, what do you have to change? What do you have to do different to take your day, your week, and turn it into 5 hours of what you're doing, and the rest it just operates and it rolls. And if you're not there for the rest of the time, it all gets done, right? 5-hour work week. And that's, I mean, it sounds like you're probably pretty close to there, but there's also some things that you haven't let go of that you have to in order to enable a 5-hour work week. And I have tried to implement that in what I do. It doesn't mean I only work 5 hours a week, right? Sure, right. Sometimes I'm working 100 hours a week, but it's because I like to.
Right. And
it's the things like you were talking about, oh, I just want to go do that, or I want to go do that today, and I want to, and that's usually what my day is like now.
Right.
Because I've organized things, and I like you're doing with Kyle, you put really good people in place. And I've got a whole bunch of really good people that have taken that, they understand what I want, and they make that happen. And then my job is to make sure that that's happening in those 5 hours a week, right? Yeah. And so how do you take what you're doing now and just cut it down to 5 hours, and then just make that enables that, make sure your business is going to run? You don't have to answer it right now. You don't have to do that, but see if you can figure that out, and then maybe in 6 months we'll do this again.
Yeah, no, that'd be great, because I know one of my biggest things is the delegation and getting more people, like core people, and I just don't know how to do it because I don't want to manage people either.
The hardest part that I have is letting other people do something that I know I'm going to do better at.
I think for me, having somebody else do it, knowing that I can do it better, I think stresses me out more than just doing it.
I know that was hard for me. And as soon as you learn how to allow that to happen and put the right process in place so that you can know what you needed done is still getting done, even if they did it weird, right?
Yeah, it was fine.
Yes.
It was fine.
I think I want to refer both you gentlemen to The Dichotomy of Leadership. It's a book by Jocko Willenick, and he speaks to your purpose from a Navy SEAL commander's perspective of 85% with me not having to touch it is better than 110% if I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And he outlines from a combat perspective how that works in business. Great book. Can't recommend it enough. But it speaks to what you both are kind of saying here.
I'll have to write that down because I already can't remember the guy's name.
You can just ask Kyle.
I'll have to remember that. I got to tie a string to my finger.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's.
Yeah. Piggybacking off Joe here, I am going to challenge you as somebody who works within the businesses with you and for you.
Oh boy, here it comes. I've been waiting on this.
Yeah.
He's been wanting to do this. Ever since we started our podcast, he's been like, oh, I'm going to get him now.
Yeah. I figured this is the whole reason I'm even here. He just wanted to give me
hammer.
Just something.
No, I want to challenge you to keep doing the good things that you are, like the books, talking about that stuff, being available. I think that's super valuable. allowing agents to have the freedom to screw up and learn from it. That's kind of what you've built your business off of. I don't think you should change that, even though you're looking to automate or, make things smoother. There are a few core things I challenge you to look really hard and just keep doing it, and maybe even do more of. Like, I know we've shared 6-7 books this year that we've bought back and forth and just read and talk about. That's awesome. And I think more people are taking them and reading them now than were 6 months ago. So.
Yeah. I've been trying to get some more. I've been reading a couple of history-related books lately, so I haven't had any new ones, but I got a few on my list that should be good.
But even those, like the local history stuff, that's great things for agents in the office to freaking know.
Yeah.
Talk about custom
history.
I'm reading about Daniel Boone right now. 2 pages of that. Oh.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, I would read that when I was when I'd be hunting. That's what I would read when I was hunting. So
then you wouldn't see the deer. That's why.
I don't think they're not going to come to my stand.
Because you can't sit still for 5 minutes. So I guess lastly here, to wrap this kind of up, we want to encourage everybody out there who has questions about real estate, the real estate market up here in the Northeast Wisconsin, to jump on Facebook, jump on the internet, look up Big Woods Realty. If you have questions, you want to list, buy, sell, just have random questions about real estate, give somebody in our offices a call, give Nate a call.
We'll also post links on social, on Facebook and YouTube and stuff on how to get there.
He might hand you off to somebody, but he does respond to all his emails.
Unless they're in spam.
He does get back to you. So
it might take a couple days if it's in my spam folder.
Just let us know, let Nate know how he can help or what we can do for you up here in the Northeast. So if you can find value in anything we've done, be sure to follow, like, subscribe, shoot over to the YouTube channel. I know we've been posting partial podcast on Facebook. The whole thing is on YouTube right away. So if you want to watch the full version, head over there and watch it. Watch for our clips. If you missed it and you haven't watched it, be sure to check out the clip where Joe explains that Trump is the Antichrist. Getting some good feedback on that one.
It's just logical.
And as
I'm
always,
still going to vote for him, though.
And as always,
you don't have a choice.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's the guy, so it doesn't, if he's the Antichrist, he wins. He might as be on the winning side.
Right? So that works. Oh, I should have done that, but be sure to like, follow, subscribe, do all that stuff. And always remember, like anything you ask us, comment, ask or call us, whatever, it's all free. Like, we don't charge for information. Information is always free. So thanks for tuning in, and we hope to watch the next episode with you.